Mercedes has seen many ups and downs this year. Although they see their worst F1 season since 2013, the German team is optimistic that they can turn things around later this season. Hamilton currently has the longest non-winning streak in his career, and no doubt Russell expected to at least win one race for Mercedes by this time. Despite their lack of race wins, they are only 35 points behind Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship. Both Mercedes drivers as well as the Mercedes power unit are extremely reliable. Russell sits only 7 points behind Sergio Perez and only 16 points behind Leclerc, who is currently second in the Drivers' Championship. Hamilton, who saw a slow start of the year due to the many porpoising issues of his car, saw 5 back-to-back podium places between the Canadian and Hungarian Grand Prix. He currently sits 35 points behind his teammate, which is the largest gap he has seen to any teammate since 2016. Although Toto Wolff and his team are determined to get second place in the Constructors' Championship, this determination can be a huge setback for the 2023 season. Most of the regulations remain the same, but there will be mandatory changes to the floor height, front wing standardization, and new roll hoop construction. Even more troublesome is the fact that Mercedes still struggles to find a clear path how to develop their 2023 car. Toto Wolff recently complained about the lack of pace of his team. In an interview with Sky Sports, he said, "I don't think that you can be happy when you see Verstappen drive his own competition. We have to figure out how we can improve our car. The gap is simply too big." Red Bull is already heavily developing their 2023 car, and with their phenomenal low drag concept have a massive advantage over the German team. Since the beginning of the season, Mercedes has struggled to find pace. This is completely opposite compared to the big smiles that we saw during preseason when Mercedes introduced their zero side pod concept. The concept was built to give an aerodynamic advantage while producing high levels of downforce. While the wind tunnel showed great promise, there was little correlation on track. Even now, while being 2/3 in the season, Mercedes not only loses on track to Red Bull, but also off track. Toto Wolff said to racefans.net, "It's not like that I believe we've discovered the Holy Grail and we understand everything and it's going to be a blast next year. This is now a crucial period. Literally over the next 1 to 2 months we need, with a certain degree of precision, to understand what needs to be done for next year." So how will Mercedes develop their car? What side pod concept does Russell want to use? Will Mercedes have a good chance of catching up with Red Bull next year? And what did Red Bull say about their 2023 car? Let's find out. Red Bull, in the form of Max Verstappen, has been dominating the last 5 races, and nothing shows that anyone can stop the Dutchman. Red Bull managed to overcome their tire management issues while also increasing their mechanical grip and front rotation in the slower corners. Whereas they first lacked pace in the slow-speed corners and lost time to Mercedes and Ferrari, they now gain time as well. This is enormously frustrating for the German team, who have been used to dominating F1 since 2014. Hamilton said in an interview with The Mirror, "It is almost impossible to beat Red Bull this year. They are ahead of everyone. We haven't caught up with them, and there won't be any upgrades this year to close the gap. We could have beaten them in Zandvoort and Budapest. However, it is 1,000 times nicer to fight with other drivers instead of taking off from pole position." Right before the summer break, Toto Wolff called Verstappen's dominance boring and not good for the sport. This is curious, as Wolff wasn't all too pleased to make any regulation changes in the Mercedes dominance era in fear of losing their competitive advantage. Andrew Shovlin, Mercedes Director Trackside Engineering, even went as far to state that the 2022 regulations have failed so far. He said to Motorsport Week, "It seems that Red Bull is clearly the fastest team, so the races are somewhat more predictable compared to the end of last year. It has been slightly easier to follow, and some races got more intense because of it. We also hoped that the regulation changes would reset the competitive order, but we still have a quite similar order from fastest to slowest." But how is Mercedes going to close the gap for next year? A frequently asked question is whether the German formation will change their no side pod concept. Shovlin said to international media, "Normally you would say that the team with the fastest car has the best concept. That would be Red Bull at the moment. Where it goes next year is difficult to say. There are some regulation changes that will impact how teams will develop their cars." Many fans claim that Mercedes needs to develop a similar concept like Red Bull, but is this even possible? Many teams have tried to copy elements from other teams in the hope that it will make their own car faster. A good and recent example is that of Haas and Aston Martin. Whereas Aston Martin developed a Red Bull copy, Haas made changes that made their car look more similar to Ferrari. In both cases, the difference in speed between the top team and the look-alike cars was still significant. But why are the look-alike versions not just as fast? F1 cars are highly complex, and the bodywork that we see is just a tiny part of the overall concept of a car. All the parts of a car are developed to work in synergy with each other. However, it regularly happens when a team copies something from another team that synergy is actually lost and even slows down the car. A good example was the pink Mercedes in 2021. After having successfully copied the 2020 Mercedes, things went sideways during the 2021 season. The floor regulation changes made the car not work in harmony anymore and failed to be competitive, while Mercedes was still fighting for the championship. One person who has a clear idea how to move forward is George Russell. In an interview with GP Blog, he said, "I don't think that anything is off the table yet. We have a unique design with the side pods. It isn't determined we continue with the concept, but we also don't exclude that we will change completely the philosophy of the car. Whether we have wide or small side pods, it won't cause a big change in performance. We have to keep developing the car. Next year will be an evolution of this year's car, and I do feel we have a good direction how to develop the car." Russell further adds to the strong and weak points of the car. "There is no doubt that we are very good at the tire temperature management. Compared to Ferrari, we do an excellent job on managing the tires, and our traction out of the corners is good as well. We need to improve our top speed and our stability in the corners. Something that isn't working in Mercedes' favor is the budget cap and limited CFD and wind tunnel simulation. Although the German team would miss out on many millions if they were to end third in the constructors, it would give them a higher allowance and more hours to spend in the CFD and wind tunnel. This might work in their favor with the upcoming regulation changes. These regulation changes, in combination with restricted wind tunnel and CFD time, is also what worries Red Bull head engineer Paul Monahan. So how does Red Bull look at the 2023 season? In an interview with Motorsport magazine, he said, "I am not sure whether it is in our advantage that we do well this year. We have to at least start on the same level as our competitors. We have to understand the regulation changes to the height and stiffness of the floor for next year. If we manage to understand these changes, then I'm sure we start at the front next year." Red Bull is already shifting their focus to the 2023 car as their large gaps in both the Constructors' and Drivers' Championship allow them to do so. But while the Austrian team has their focus on next year, Toto Wolff admitted there is another problem for the development of the W14. In an interview with Motorsport.com, he said, "The non-correlation in the various areas of the car is causing us to not perform. Maybe there is a single thing that overshadows everything, and therefore we are not doing it justice to question every part of the car." The correlation issues are dramatic to any F1 team, but especially since the wind tunnel and CFD time is more limited since this year. The budget cap also makes it impossible to produce numerous amounts of parts to test and see which one adds to the performance of the car. It is clear that Mercedes has loads of work to do for the 2023 season, and they have to overcome many obstacles if they want to seriously threaten Red Bull next year. Do you think Mercedes can fight for the championship next year? Let me know in the comments section below.